Hi, Christina.
Hi. How,
Welcome.
thank you. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. I'm great. I'm
We're just
excited to be
talking
on here.
about like you're living in a cool, gloomy climate at this moment, and
Yeah,
I'm in like
today it
yeah,
is.
yeah, and
But
it's
it's been nice this summer. I can't complain. Like we've
okay.
had some hot days, which is like really nice, but Toronto, it's a little gloomy right now
And
and
you grew
rainy.
up there.
I grew up in Toronto, yeah.
So you wear many hats,
I do.
and
I do.
I love all of your titles, but for me, like I would love to start talking about how you became an intuitive person because I
Mm-hmm.
think about you growing up, little Christina in Toronto. How did
Mm-hmm.
you figure this out and how did you hone it? And what does it
It's
even mean? Like, what do you do with
okay.
it?
Yeah. So it's so funny because it is something that everyone has intuition, just to kind of preface. I think we just have to say that. However, I think for me, I was born with these abilities from a very young age. So I could kind of sense certain things, feel things, see things, tune into things. And I would often spontaneously channel and give predictions at a very young age that would often come true.
Mm.
My grandmother was also very big on dreams and would often tune into a lot of that. So I do get premonitions. They do happen. I do get dreams that, will come to me and I can connect to that. But since I was a little girl, I mean, like I could see deceased loved ones. So it felt norm without, because I didn't have enough context to understand that it wasn't norm.
Hmm.
But it is obviously something that I was born with, didn't quite understand, but felt normal and comfortable with.
So what
But
do you remember
yeah,
like at what age you noticed it?
I would probably say about three is when I
Wow.
kind of had more of an understanding of certain, like reading auras or seeing energies around, the space. My mom would say that she goes, "You cried a lot. You were
Mm.
like probably scared, not knowing
Yeah.
what that was."
Mm.
But I think I had more context probably when I was about five and a half, six. A little bit more of like, oh, okay, so and so's grandmother is in the room with us. But you don't register it as death, right? Because
Hmm.
you're a little kid still. And children's ability to see deceased loved ones or connect to the other side, the veil's very thin. So it's very easy for children to be able to tap into that. So you can often hear kids say things like, "Oh, I saw so and so, was sitting in the corner of the room and I was talking to them." So it was kind of like that, but a little bit more intense. And I suffered a lot of anxiety as a kid, like stomach issues, anxiety when I would go to school.
Hmm.
It was harder because I was in a room full of so many different types of energies.
Hmm.
And I would often just sweat and get anxious and not know how to regulate myself as a kid,
Hmm.
obviously. And then my parents worked full time, so it was very difficult to even have them as like a safe space in the
Hmm.
environment. My grandmother was pretty much someone who I could on as a safe space, didn't speak a word of English.
She spoke
But
Greek.
she spoke Greek.
Okay.
So, yeah, I learned Greek at a very young age, fluent in that, understand a lot of that as well. So that was kind of my safe space. But it was hard. School's hard, navigating all that. Like I said, reading kids' energy, but not just that. It was also knowing that you don't have enough context when you're young, obviously, but just feeling the impacts of all those emotions. It
Hmm.
was a lot to deal with. And I was a very shy kid. I didn't make friends easily. I actually didn't know how to speak English until I was in grade one because
Wow.
I was raised in a Greek household.
Right.
And so I didn't necessarily have that also. So that also added a lot of anxiety. So I relied on my intuition a lot to read people, to figure things out. But it has its goods and its bads, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have enough knowledge around it when you're so little.
Right. I mean, how do you even know what to articulate,
Yeah.
especially when you don't know that it's normal? So how did you ultimately, like as a kid, how did you talk to your grandmother about it? Did you verbalize it or did you just carry it with you till
I
later?
just carried with it. Like it was something that was so innate within me. I thought it was normal. I thought that that's just how people operate. I was a very mature kid, I think, at a very young age. So I felt like I took on a lot of responsibility at a very young age. I felt like I grew up quicker than other children. So it was like, well, this is my burden to kind of take on. And there wasn't enough. I mean, how do I explain this to my grandmother as well? Even though she had some reference, she understood, and there was a lot of belief around certain things. She was also very religious too. So, I grew up Orthodox Greek. So there was a lot of that religious aspect as well, which when you say the word psychic, it's not necessarily accepted.
Condoned. Yeah. Yes. So
So,
growing up, what did you think you wanted to do professionally?
interior design.
Okay. Did you ever study it?
Something I did. I went to
Okay.
school for a bit. I loved it. I enjoy doing it. I still do it.
Hmm.
I like to, but I use it in a way now with a lot of feng shui, and I use it in a lot of ways where create safe spaces for myself as well as for my clients at times. But I realized I kept getting pulled into this regardless. So even if I went to school for other things and I wanted to go into other directions, I was always solving people's problems, giving a message, tuning into something. It just constantly pulled me back into this direction. So even if I try to navigate or create some normalcy for me or just pick a job that would be 9 to 5, or even entrepreneurship was always in alignment to me no matter what. I knew that I was not going to work necessarily 9 to 5. But even if I tried, it didn't work out that way. And I just think that was the universe's way of saying, like, you can have this for a while, but we need you to come back into this space. And this is what we need you to be doing. And that in itself was a journey. But yeah, so I did study for a while
Were
in
there
interior.
ways that you can tune in, could tune yourself more into it? For example, if you get a premonition about something, is there something you do as this human that has this connection to get confirmation from the universe about this premonition you might have?
It's more of a knowing now. I think like throughout the years that I've been doing this, it's just been so I'm so immersed in it. It is my life now. And it doesn't there's no other way of looking at it for me to be like, well, there's not enough evidence around it. It's
Mm.
energy doesn't lie. People can lie. People can come to you with whatever information that they want and how they present themselves in a specific way, or even they think it's their own truth, but energy never lies. And so I've just learned to be able to understand the language of energy so well that there's no way that that could lie. And the way also, whenever I'm reading someone or I'm giving a message or I'm tuned into something or I'm spontaneously channeling something or I'm talking to a deceased loved one, there's always going to be an aspect of evidence that has to come through. Like I have to make sure that I am talking to, your deceased aunt, and your deceased aunt had this type of personality, and she was, she'd give me context around the things that I would need for you to understand who we're talking to and connecting with. But energy is a very interesting thing, and it's a completely different language. And when you're tuned into it, it's symbols. It's a different way of understanding frequency and vibration, and it's hard to put it in context at times. So you have to trust it. You have to develop a real good understanding within yourself and with whom you're working with. And I have geared throughout the years around working with a lot of trauma and working with people's inner child. And I can just say, for just one aspect of evidence is whenever a person goes into a state of relief for me. So if I'm giving them an information or I'm helping them understand like what their patterns are, or why they're stuck in certain cycles, or why they're having a hard time manifesting something in their life. The moment I say the thing that I'm reading, their body will relax. There will be an opening. They'll take a deep breath in and they'll exhale. That's confirmation for me to say, like, we're on the same page. You may not mentally be on the same page with me, but I know energetically and emotionally, and your body's on the same page with me. So that's more important to me than what we're working with as far as logic goes. Because that's just living in the ego, that state of resistance. And it's my job then to integrate that so that your mind and your body are working together.
I love this. Okay, so how did you turn that? Because now you primarily work in this field.
Mhm.
How do you how do you help people with this, and how do people find you? Because I think most people have to be open to this kind of work to find you. I think like I have a very good friend who's a tarot card reader, and she's like, "Well, you could think it's going to happen or not, but the universe is going to make it happen." So
Right.
like even when when she would first read my cards and I wasn't so attuned to it or as open to it, she's like, "Well, you can believe it or not, but it's going to happen."
Mhm.
So people, but I had, and then I started slowly seeing that confirmation, and then I became more open to it. How do you work with people directly, and how do you work with people on that piece of it?
So it's interesting because sometimes the person who thinks that they're really open are the ones that are probably the most resistant, which is like hilarious because
Funny.
they're like, no, I really am like, I'm here and I'm ready. And I'm like, great, let's go into the shadow aspect of this. And they're like, oh no,
Yeah.
I can't right now. And I'm like, it's okay. I totally understand that. Even though you desire to understand more of this or integrate more of your trauma, we have a layer of resistance that we have to work through. You may not necessarily be as open-minded as you perceive yourself to be. And then there are other times where someone comes to me, they're like shut down and they really just don't believe in any of this. And we have this profound experience in a session and they're like, no one's ever known this about me. How the hell did you gather all that information? Like, that was exactly what happened at this point of my life. And I was just like, this is great. Now we're on the same page of like what you need to work on and how we need to heal these aspects and why you're aligning with relationships that are dysfunctional or these types of patterns or money blocks, whatever that may look like. So I don't like to say that there's just like a one method approach because with energy, there's so many different ways that you can approach it. And I just love being able to have a healthy exchange with someone as long as there's respect. As long as they come in, because sometimes people come in even with their own perception of what they think that they're going to get out of it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, we went a whole other way. And they're like, I didn't expect this at all. And maybe they're a little upset because
Mm-hmm.
they thought you were going to give them all the answers
Yes.
and they don't necessarily understand that they're creating their life and their experiences. You are your creator. You have free will. And as much as I'm saying you're going to line up with this, I can change that for you if you understood what trauma is linked with that and that outcome. You're not hopeless in that. We can shift that if you want. And so it really is about someone learning how to step into their power in a lot of ways. And I often tell people, I'm like, don't consistently get readings all the time because you are opening a lot of energetic portals. And at the same time, you're also giving your power away to something outside of you. You need to learn how to hone into your own personal energy and power and trust yourself through your process. I'm just here to guide you through that and then kind of let you go a little bit to see like, can you play with your decisions? Can you trust yourself a little bit more? Can you move into the direction of really integrating these shadow aspects of yourself that you're rejecting, disowning? And that's kind of what I love fundamentally doing. I can predict a lot of things, but it won't help you. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I need to say what I need to say because it's important for someone to hear that. And sometimes they're like, don't say it. They're supposed to go through a lesson right now. And that's the hard part. The hard part is like reading someone and hearing their guide or my guide and them saying, you can't give this information right now. This information for them, you need to know this because they're going to come back to you and they're going to need your support through this transition, but they need to learn this lesson. And
Mm.
there are many times where I have to stay completely silent, even though I know this is going to go this way.
And do they come back to you always?
They always come back.
Always.
They
Well,
always
let's,
come
I
back.
want to
Yes.
break this down a little bit. What
Yeah.
do you, because I think we hear shadow side. How do
Mhm.
you define shadow side?
So the shadow side is every part of your experiences, I would say from childhood, because fundamentally, whether we like it or not, those are your years of laying down your foundation and your sense of self and all your adaptations, your belief systems, and of course, things that you've witnessed and gone through as a kid, which you primarily don't even have enough information over for you to fully understand your range of emotions.
Hmm.
And so these shadow parts of ourselves, when we're shamed, when we're guilted, when we're feeling a sense of rejection, when we're feeling sadness, loneliness, that's where like all the sweet stuff is. Like that's where if we go into that area of understanding and being able to give it complete presence, you're going to learn so much more about yourself and your resiliency, and you'll find your personal power through that. So I love shadow work. I think shadow work is imperative for a lot of growth and awakening. And if we can access those disowned parts, or the parts that we avoid, or even put on different masks and how we present ourselves in our lives differently. We have a persona that we create to protect ourselves. And eventually, sometimes that doesn't work anymore. And so we have to go in deeper. We have to have more self awareness. And the shadow part of us that's where the light's going to come from. That's what people don't understand. They're like, oh no, just stay positive. Just be in the positive. There's a lot of spiritual bypassing, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the spiritual community, I have seen a lot of that, where it's just like, let's bypass the shadow part and let's just sit in the light. And what they're not registering is this is more painful. Staying here in this concept of light and trying to be positive while you keep rejecting all parts of yourself, and creating narratives that are so limited in your experiences, or making excuses too, right? Like, the reason why this isn't working for me is because of this. Or, I've had all these situations happen to me and I'm just unlucky. Or, or, oh, that's just my karma. It's like, no, but those are just sayings. Those are not actual things that are happening to you. They are responding to parts of your inner child and shadow emotions. So we have to pivot, and we have to learn how to really look at those parts and integrate them to wholeness. And through that, we'll go through the dark, through the light, and then we're going to see the better parts of ourselves. But it takes work. And sometimes people don't want to work on
So I
that.
know like one of the ways people can work on this is your book, and we'll talk about that. But so I don't want to give too many spoilers on the book,
Mhm.
but what are some ways, like when you think to yourself you need to sit in your shadow work, what are some like practical things people could do to sit in their shadow?
So the first thing I would say is, okay, let's say you have an anxiety, you're facing anxiety, or you're just about to go into a panic attack, because like those are the two fundamental things that people try to avoid the most of.
Hmm.
I would just say, literally close your eyes and sink into it. I would say, like, surrender to whatever's happening. Learn to create safety within yourself, because the only reason it's happening is because there's a form of a trigger that's caused an unsafety within you. And so we have to teach you safety within your body. Another thing I would love people to do is visualize a safe space within themselves. So you could think about just a visualization technique where you could just think about creating a beautiful garden or a beach or anything. And if you're not a visual person, you could just create a sensory feeling of that. So you can put on incense or a candle that represents that safe space for you. And those, using your senses, will give you a cue, so that whenever an emotion starts to come up, you can go into that cue, that safe space, and start to bring that emotion in that space. And it's almost like leading it, guiding it, which really is just like, hey, there's like an inner version of yourself, this little child that needs your attention right now. That's all it is. It's just, you need to learn how to tap into connecting to that part of yourself, whatever that may be. And then, like, writing compassionate letters to your inner child is a really great way of kind of starting to connect to your inner child. It's always about that conversation. And a really great mantra, or like a saying that you could use, is like, I'm not going to abandon you in this moment. That's it. Because abandonment is a shadow emotion. And so if we could just start to integrate even that language within ourselves by holding our heart space and thinking of our safe space, breathing in or sinking into that emotion, we're starting to create a inner dialogue and safety within your body. And that's a great place to start from.
Wow. Okay. So how did the book come about? Were you just like, I need to scream this from the rooftop, so I'm going to write a book about it?
No, I wish it was like that. I mean, I think that the book, I wanted to simplify the book because, shadow motion and shadow work can be really scary for a lot of people. Like I said, when you've experienced panic attacks for a very long time or just a lot of trauma in general, going there, it's really tiresome. Like it's tiring. Like you're
Mhm.
like, I can't, I don't have the energy for that sometimes. So I wanted to create, and I've been working with my clients. I have a lot of clients and they've been like, we love doing this work, the ones that are really immersed in shadow work and they've seen huge changes in their lives, but then they have friends in their life or their experiences that aren't necessarily, they're curious, but they don't know where to start. They're always like, well, what's the work? How do you do the work? And so my clients would come back and be like, you need to write a book so that I can gift someone the work. And I
Mm.
was like, oh, that's a great way of looking at that. How do I create something that's a guide, that's a tool, that's a reference for people to consistently go back to? And my clients who've been doing the work for a very long time, they understand it from a completely different context. Like I had a client last week tell me, I was doing one of your meditations. I was in the void, let's say. That's an element of doing inner child work. And I integrated 15 parts of my inner child. And I was like, that's amazing. Oh my God.
Whoa.
Like so profound. And then I have other like new clients or someone gifted someone that, and they were just like, I'm taking it one step at a time and I'm noticing each chapter is intense just by the reflective questions. And then I did meditations in there, but I did them as a step by step. And what
Hmm.
I wanted individuals to do was record themselves going through the steps and then sitting after they're done a chapter and re-listening because you want to guide yourself through it because you're developing an internal dialogue between you and your subconscious and your inner child. So that's kind of the book in a nutshell, but it has a lot of like language in there that is important for people to understand when you're navigating the work. It's simplified so that it's not confusing. If you do the work, you'll see the results.
I'm definitely going to get the book. And I should have said the name of it. It has a long name, so I want to make sure I get it
Yes,
right. Embrace Your Shadows, a guide to healing your shadow emotions and embracing your inner child, which I love.
yes, yes.
I'm definitely going to be working on this. Tell
Awesome.
me, like, how when you work with people, like, what containers do they can they work with you in?
It varies on the energy that I'm reading. So sometimes it could be shamanic work because I'm a shaman as well. So I do a lot of soul retrieval. And this is more intense work with people who have done, let's say, years worth of therapy. And now they're ready to do the integrative work, which, they could have done talk therapy for X amount of time with sexual abuse or PTSD. And there's a more in-depth healing that happens there because I actually have to retrieve lost parts of themselves due to the trauma itself. And then there's the shadow work aspect and the inner child work aspect, which is fundamentally the core of my work. And that ranges from PTSD to sexual abuse to more. And then just even basic, just like my parents really sucked and I just didn't feel good. And I was like, great, let's just find that inner child that needs some help right now that wants better parents. Um, I work with such a range that it's so hard to just pinpoint one way of working on it. But mostly it is tapping into what their guides are communicating to me and the energy that I'm reading off of them, and then going through a journey with them. I'm locked in. So, like when I'm working, I'm fully immersed. What you're feeling, I'm feeling. What you're experiencing, I'm experiencing. And I'm holding space for it to the degree where, like, I already know when you're in your rejection wound. I already know when you're in your abandonment wound or your guilt or whatever, because I'm literally tapped into it. So I have a visceral response to it. And then from there, I'm holding the space so that you have the opportunity to bring these parts into your safe space and help you redefine that. And you're really just changing your energy overall, your neural pathways. You're doing so many different things. Your nervous system is shifting in a lot of ways as well, which then is reflected in your environment after as you're working through even wanting to change your reality and manifest different experiences for yourself. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot of work. It's heavy work at times. I love it.
Hmm.
I wouldn't change anything.
Hmm.
But being a shadow worker is hard because, and any shadow worker I think will understand this. You are act like a mirror. So if I'm in my day-to-day life, no matter what the circumstances are, I act like your subconscious.
Is there ever a
So
time where you can't do this for somebody, or there's so like Is there ever been a time, because it sounds like you get full empathy, right, into
Mhm.
their, is there ever been a time where you haven't been able to tap into that?
It's a good question. I think out of I think out of my guides protecting me because they knew what that person's motive or intention was the only time that I wasn't allowed to tap into that. So I've had situations where like I'm trying to read someone and I'm trying to assess a situation, but they have ulterior motives or they have other disorders like
Mm,
narcissism
mm-hmm,
or other things that could be really damaging to me
mm-hmm.
that my guides are like, nope.
Got it. Wow.
So
And
it's more of a protection, which I think is fair. I think like
it's
doing
great.
this work, like you want to be open and compassionate and understanding for all ranges of individuals. But where do we have the boundaries, the energetic boundaries and the safety that's also important for the intuitive to understand. And I think my guides in a lot of ways because I can go in as myself and be like, oh my God, let me help you. And I want to, and then not register that the other person on the other end may want something different, but with ulterior motives. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the time that I notice that it doesn't work out. And then I find out after that they actually did or were not the greatest individual or they had hurt other people in the process.
Mm, mm. And so you basically, so if somebody comes to you and they're like, I want to be in a relationship with somebody,
Okay.
right? Or right, like what's, are you like, let me figure out the best way to help you. You
Yep.
should work with me for 8 weeks. You should do a one session. Like, how do you figure out, is it literally just every person's different?
You know what? I think that the way I approach things is like out of free will. You have free will, right? Like I'm always like, I'd like to see my clients, and my clients like to see me. Like, if they could, they could see me every week. And I'm like, no, we don't do a weekly thing here.
Mm,
Like once a month, if that. I also have my membership platform where I teach in there quite like every Saturday pretty much. And I always like energetically dump a lot of information in there so people can also do the work because I'm really big about accountability. You have to be accountable for your healing. I'm just your guide. Do not develop codependency on me because that's not going to go well because that goes right back into your trauma and I'm literally taking your power away from you and I don't want that. I don't want power over you. I don't want to make you feel in any which way that you have to hold on to every single word that I say. I want you to discern. I often tell my clients, like, this doesn't feel good for you right now. That's okay. Sit with that, figure that out. Of course, I've had negative experiences with people before because I'm a shadow healer. Like, I'm going to mirror back things to you that you don't want to see, you
mm,
don't want to deal with, you don't want to heal, and you will villainize me. It's normal, especially because I work with the inner child. You may even deem me as one of your parents and like or like I'll come up as like an authority figure in your life. And so I've had situations like that even with clients who have worked with me for, months and then all of a sudden they're like angry about something because we're now hitting a wound, a layer that they're just not ready to face yet. And so they're like, I'm out. And
mm,
I've had to learn it's not about me because I've taken that part personally in a lot of ways where I was like, but we were making such great progress. How did it go from like where we are right now to like now you villainizing me and making me out to be the bad person because you didn't like what I had to say? And so I feel like it's just one of those things where people will have to also take control of their healing and their journey as well. I don't want the full responsibility of that because having gifts and being intuitive is a beautiful thing, I think. And when I was younger, I was like, yes, everybody, please, like, let's all do this. It would make everything so much better. And I got punished hardcore for
yeah.
that.
You learned
And now I'm
better.
like, yeah, and now I'm like, okay, it's about balance. Like I literally had a client of mine 3 weeks ago yell at me,
Mm,
right? Like people don't hear those sides of this story, right?
right.
Because their assumption is like it's supposed to be great. And I was like, hey, you're just in your rejection wound.
Mm,
That's all this is right now. And you're trying to self-preserve, and I get it. And you have to be able to contain all of that because when I'm locked into you it's such a visceral response. So I can feel the heat rise. I can feel your anger. I can feel your dysregulation. And now you're looking at me to react to regulate you because that was part of your childhood experience. That's the norm. And I'm trying to stay completely composed while my whole body is heating up, while the rage is coming up, while the dysregulation is occurring. Old me would have reacted, right? That's why I said it's hard work because, oh my God, this version of me that's been through so many aspects of that is like, hold a container. It's okay. Like, this isn't about you. They're just looking for you to self soothe them. They're looking to have an authority or control over whatever's going on right now because you're hitting a layer of the shadow emotion that they don't know how to process. And so I don't know if I can give someone a definite like 6 months
Yeah.
or a day or one session. It's a process.
Mm.
And it really is in your control as well.
I love this. How do you take care of you? How do you separate yourself from the what you
So it's
absorb from
so
each client?
so it's interesting. I think, I mean, I've been doing this now for about 15 years. So I think I've learned to manage some pretty good experiences one on one. I try to stay very neutral. I try not to take it personal. However, my day-to-day life and my day-to-day relationships are hard because, again, I can't force people around me to do the work. I
Hmm.
can't. And I could walk into a room and my mom's in her mood or her behavioral pattern, and instantly I'm going to feel that, and if I bring it up, it turns into the same dysfunctional pattern. I've lost friendships due to the fact that, they hit certain layers of their own healing or their own journey and it just doesn't feel good anymore. So there's a rejection element of all of that. The balance, I think the more and more I learned to sit with my own shadow emotion of rejection, my own shadow emotion of loneliness, the easier it was for me to define a better sense of self. And when you define a better sense of self, you know when to go forward, when to pull back, when to rest, when to go all in. Like, you're constantly tuning in. I'm not perfect at it, no such thing. It's still a work in progress, but I think I manage it much better now. And I also think, too, I'm not in survival.
Hmm.
So I'm not operating from like a fear or limited mindset of like, I don't have enough resources or I don't have enough money or I don't have enough this or I don't have enough that. So I've got to go and think of this like a 9 to 5 type of job where I'm in the survival of it and then using my abilities almost in an abusive way, which
Mm.
I've seen with other intuitives do because they don't understand like it's not meant to be used like that. It's meant to be used in a relaxed space for yourself. That doesn't mean I don't have issues, doesn't mean I don't have problems that I have to go through and figure out. That's human, everyone's human, but I think that the big piece is a strong solar plexus, clear boundaries, a good sense of who you are, and then not abusing yourself, not letting people abuse you, and not abusing your gifts.
Wow, that's a lot. I was gonna say, like, when we wrap up, I always like to ask people what's something you can give everybody to take with them. That's so many great concrete things for your own self-care, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so if people are feeling pulled towards this work, they can reach out to you and you together
Uh-huh.
will figure out with them what the best plan is.
Yes. This was great. Thank you
I
so
love
much for having me
Thank you
on.
so much. I can't wait to dig into your book
Thank
because
you so much.
I've done so much therapy and sometimes I think I need, and I'm also open to the woo. So I need like a good balance
I
between.
love that. I love that.
Okay, we'll link out to all your stuff. Thank you so much for being here, Christina.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.